my stream for gaming with Infamous. We were getting into a lot of the technology that goes into video games and stuff. It also had some stuff to do with language processing as well, and that really stuck out to me because I had already been doing research on this kind of information, and on Cosmic Weave, I was talking about similarities between the cosmic weave slash cosmic egg theory and um, science, basically. How there's a lot of things that has similarities, and this right here stuck out to me. It was one of the things that I went over when I was talking about it, and like what you guys were just talking about. Okay, now when I heard you guys talking, what really stuck out to me was the was the fact that data moves through these layers within the system, and it learns to interpret inputs, whether they're visual, auditory, or based on decision making tasks. Now, when they talk about decision making tasks, they're talking about reinforcement learning. Okay. And they're also talking about generative modeling. Now, generative modeling actually sticks out to me more about what you guys were talking about than reinforcement learning, but it's also important to learn about reinforcement learning with what I'm about to talk to you about here. You know, uh, we we'll get to that, but this whole thing about generative modeling is very important. Do you know much about that, Mr. Robot?
Um, I'm not super familiar on like the deep technicalities of how it works, but I've definitely used a lot of generative modeling, image generation, speech generation, all that kind of stuff. Um, how it works, I don't know, but I assume it has something to do with neural nets and you know, training training through large sets of data and creating more precise models through multiple iterations of it.
Hmm. Now, you guys were talking about reality, and life's basically a simulation. Okay. Now, when you go and you look at that and then you think about generative modeling. Okay. You look at what it is. Okay. With generative modeling, you can produce realistic images. You can simulate human voices. You can generate music, and you can construct new videos, things like that. You know what I'm saying? Um, that's one thing that really stuck out to me whenever I was listening to you guys talk. Uh,
Just thinking like if you're a, like if you think like a character in a computer game, the game
mhm.
is real to you, right? As the player, the game seems like a simulation because you're on a higher level than it. But uh, I, I tend to think like reality is probably the same, where like to us this is real because we're in it. You know, if we were
Right.
like some kind of spiritual being on the next dimension up, you know, maybe we could think of it as a dream or as a simulation, but really in the end they're just words, and you know, they're just approximations to the truth, and I think we have to remember that we're even our minds are like machine learning, you know, they're basically computers that are trying to model reality as closely as possible to what it actually is, but we don't actually know what it is. We can't fully appreciate what it is with just our minds, but um, we get closer through learning, and it's the same with the machines.
Well, see, for with with what I'm learning when it comes to this though in modern like digital systems, these these technologies they don't they go beyond like individual devices. Okay, what they're doing is they're personalizing the digital experience ta- to tailor the content according to your behavior. You know what I'm saying? Your preferences, and then like with reinforcement learning. Okay, it also goes according to your past activities. So if you're using consciousness in that kind of context, what it's basically doing is like this reality is actually tailoring itself to your personal experiences. You know what I'm saying? It's according to what you have experienced and what you're seeing, and it's not according to everybody else. Is being tailored according to you.
Right.
Well, I just saw Sam Altman from OpenAI came out the other day and said that ChatGPT can now remember all of your conversations with it. So
Mhm.
that's kind of what you're talking about. But I think it's just one of the uses. It's not the only way that um, machine learning can be used. Like, for example, like when Elon Musk owned OpenAI, they used it to train it to like beat games and stuff. Like it became the best World of Warcraft player in the world, and it did that through just like reinforcement learning by playing like billions of times until it got better and better and better. Through trial and error.
Mhm.
And that's not necessarily tailoring, but it is machine learning in the end still.
Well, for me, you guys were talking about escaping. Uh, what was it again? Escaping the trap. To
I have the
me,
death traps.
Trap.
Yeah.
yeah, death traps. Now, I heard on the interview the other night about that, and what that reminds me of is escaping samsara. And I brought that up to Jaffe the other day. That's straight up what it is. And for me, like I've actually checked all that information out. And for you to fully understand samsara, you have to understand what the Hindu beliefs are, which I believe you are into the Hinduism, aren't you, Mr. Robot?
Yeah, but I actually never equated those two together. It makes perfect sense. Yeah, I mean, the more I hear about Hindu like belief, like not necessarily their modern beliefs, but when you go into the ancient texts and stuff, like the amount of like real information in there is just staggering, and it's like more advanced than what we understand now.
Mhm.
Because I do think like some of that information came from like a outside source or a higher source. Like I don't necessarily believe in gods and stuff, but I do believe in higher forms of consciousness or like more advanced beings out there. So very interesting stuff.
Well, with samsara, like I learned that there's six planes of existence in samsara, or six realms of samsara, and I didn't learn that from the Buddhists. I learned that from the Hindus. You know what I mean? And they do believe in samsara in both Hinduism and Buddhism. But in Hinduism, they talk about the realm of the Devas. You know, and that's something that really stuck out to me, and it seems odd to me that Buddhism doesn't really mention the realm of the Devas, because, and of course they wouldn't, because they don't believe in Devas. You know what I mean? That seems to be odd that it was completely taken out and left.
Well, I'm not 100% sure that's true because remember, Buddha was a Hindu before he was Buddhist, and
Mhm.
he like that in certain. I can't speak with authority from it, but I have looked at some Buddhist texts that do talk about like devas or deities or whatever you want to call it. You know, very similar to the Hindu stuff, but I don't think it's like the main part of Buddhism. It's because like Buddha kind of more focused on the practices and like the philosophy and stuff. But there's a lot of like surrounding beliefs around that like come from more esoteric stuff that they also like look like, you know, was probably like more closely kept, you know. But yeah, the whole samsara is like the cycle of birth and death and rebirth. And didn't I believe it had something to do with karma and like um
Yeah.
reading about it.
See, the whole premise behind samsara in the first place is that you want to do better in this life than what you did in your previous life so that you can ascend to the next level.
That's
Now,
right.
you know what I mean? And there are certain realms that you could be reincarnated into.
Yeah.
But,
So they believe like positive deeds or negative deeds would determine like in what form your soul will take in the next life and stuff like that.
and if
Um,
you
yeah,
you can ascend into different realms as well. Like
yeah,
the
sure.
hung
Like you know, I see it as like lessons or like classes of a school. You know, like for the soul, and like on one once you've learned the lessons of one um, area of education for your soul, you graduate to the next level. But if you didn't learn the lesson, you got to reset the class. If that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
you've been really quiet there, Sonia. You're gonna have to start talking.
Okay.
Okay, let me drop
Okay.
this.
I don't know a
Do
whole
you,
heck
do
of
you
a
know
lot
about the
about.
term moksha?
Hmm. Sounds familiar.
Yeah, so that's the ultimate emancipation or liberation of the soul through the nirvana is what they believe is like the ultimate outcome of the once you've gone through all of the dharma and you worked out your karma, you're meant to achieve liberation. And I'm not sure whether that's from this realm or from your body. I don't. They call it self actualization or self knowledge, which which to me sounds more like you actually understand who you really are, which is like the universe. But anyways, I don't know if I'm getting off topic.
I can put us back on topic if you guys want to, because um, this is actually going into a different area, kind of where I wanted to bring it up, but I wanted to talk about these uh, connected homes that are uh, involved in intelligent systems like smart homes and smart cities. Um, what do you guys think about that when it comes to technology and
From the name,
consciousness?
I actually like my technology dumb as possible.
Right.
I don't like smart anything.
Right.
Uh, if I could, I'd still have an analog phone, but yeah, I'm stuck with a hacked phone. But yeah, I just think it's rife for manipulation and hacking, and you know, the,
What
there's
about consciousness? What about consciousness? What happens if these systems become conscious and our
well,
our
they will become
societies?
out of control. That's for sure. That's going to happen pretty soon, by the sounds of it. What I would suggest is that we, like Musk says, we need to make friends with the machines rather than create an adversarial relationship. and I do think, at least for as long as possible, we should put off making them more powerful than us.
Right.
Because we need to create integration and alignment with them before an accidents happen. So,
Exactly.
but yeah,
I
Well,
think they kind of want accidents to happen, though. You know.
yeah,
wow. I
Hmm.
just don't understand. Do you guys remember, like, before the modern AI era, there was always these ideas of like, oh, when we create artificial intelligence, we're not gonna do certain things to, preserve safety, which was like, we're not gonna let them on the internet, you know, we're not gonna like let them have
Hmm.
autonomy, all this stuff, and it just all went out the window within
It
like a
did.
year.
hmm
Exactly.
It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
well, we've got a history already, and it's like they've got all the data. They know what we're like, and when you look at this stuff, you also got to understand that there's a lot of sensors, there's a lot of devices, and their sole purpose is to gather data uh, from everyday activities that we have. Then you have to worry about lights. You got to worry about thermostats, appliances, security
Don't even get me
systems.
started on nanotechnology and
Right.
nano receivers, nano routers, Internet of Bodies. You know, all this stuff is going to the next level of crazy.
All of this stuff is also going to be based off of our habits and the and our, I guess, the conditions that are around us. You know what I mean? How we
Well,
live.
here's the thing, Roger. How long will our habits be our habits if the machines can influence us? And who's controlling those machines? And who is suggesting to those machines what our habits should be? You know what I
Right.
mean? And
Well, well, you
yeah, it's like
gotta.
Ray Kurzweil said, like, humans are already hackable animals. So,
So
um,
you have to think though. We're talking about the time when these machines become autonomous and they develop a conscience. They become conscious. Okay. They don't
conscious or consciousness?
conscience.
Oh,
They conscious. You know what I mean? We're
conscious.
yeah,
So aware of themselves. Is that what you mean by that?
yes.
Sentient.
Well, these are rough words with actual definitions too. When you say sentient, you say consciousness. That's something that I do want to get into here in a minute when we start talking about dish brain and LC1. Um, those
Well,
are
it kind of begs the question, like, what does it really mean to be a sentient being, and is it
Hmm.
possible for a machine to be sentient like us?
mhm,
I'm still on the fence on that one. I see it from both perspectives. There are some people out there that believe that machines can become complex enough to have a soul inhabited, you know,
Hmm.
and I could see, like, since everything in the universe is made of the same etheric force, I don't see why that wouldn't be possible.
mhm.
But on like a gut level, I just don't feel like it's right. But I don't know.
Well, if you don't think it feels right, think about not smart homes. What about smart cities? You know what I mean? Because with that, what they're wanting to do is set up like things with like traffic lights. They want the AI to know things like traffic patterns. You have energy usage,
Well, all the cars
waste
are going
man,
to have LiDAR in them, you know what I
yeah,
mean? So
Yeah.
emergency
basically, they
service.
can already, you know, when we think about the satellite technology that's there now with the Wi-Fi, with the 5G, they also have other satellites that can penetrate walls as deep as like 5 meters or something like that. You know, You got like CCTV and LiDAR
That's
all
what I
around
was
the
getting ready
planet.
to say.
Plus, you got all the Wi-Fi networks around the planet. When you use all that data together, you could form a three-dimensional image of everything on the planet. You
Yeah.
know?
Right.
Cameras,
The
sensors, and
digital twin.
vehicles.
Yeah.
Yep.
Digital twin. Could you
Hmm.
imagine what all that would
Which,
look like
which,
if it
which
was
effectively is the end of
it?
privacy as we know it.
Oh,
So,
sure.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Now this all goes back to gathering environmental input, intelligent decision making. Uh, uh, well, decision making engines basically. It's supposed to be interpreting the data, and also like when it's all said and done, it's offering real time responses. You know, and then
Personally, I don't think we should let machines make decisions for us. I think it's better for them to help inform us based on larger data sets than we can like
Yeah.
process.
Mhm.
But when we have machines starting to make decisions for us, that's a slippery slope to
Well, see,
to all sorts of
the, the
movies scenarios.
the developers have assured us that they aren't making decisions for us. They will be suggestions, purely just suggestions.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah. You just know there's going to be one crazy guy out there that's just like,
I
screw
said
it.
that,
I want.
yeah, I agree. I said that at the beginning. I was like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
At
Okay.
that
And
point, we have to, yeah. I just don't see how there's not going to be a machine war, like they talk about at the beginning of the Matrix. Like,
yeah,
I just
Matrix for
don't see
sure.
how that's not going to happen. It seems inevitable.
Yeah. From this perspective, yeah.
Okay. So now we get to the cool part. I want to read to you what I found concerning Dish Brain and LC1. I've found more, but
Crazy stuff.
I want to go over some of the more important things that stuck in my mind, and then after I'm done, you guys, I want to hear your take on it. Okay,
Yeah.
Sure.
it's not that long. So now, in recent years, a new frontier has emerged in the study of consciousness, intelligence, and synthetic biology through a project that brought together living brain cells systems in a shared environment, known broadly as the dish brain experiment. This effort involved growing a network of neurons in a carefully maintained dish, then connecting that biological network to an artificial interface. The neural cells used in this project were cultured from human and animal sources and then encouraged to form synaptic connections, just as they would in a natural brain. Over time, these connections developed into a functional network capable of responding to stimuli. In this setup, the neural network demonstrating learning behavior, improving its performance in response to feedback, and behaving in a manner that suggested rudimentary awareness of its virtual surroundings. When the network responded correctly to input, it received positive reinforcement. When it made errors, the reinforcement was withheld or altered. This feedback loop, reminiscent of behaviorist learning in animals, led to observable changes in the network's behavior. Over time, the cells appeared to adapt their activities to achieve better outcomes, demonstrating a form of learning that did not rely on traditional software programming, but on organic change within the biological material itself. Now, this is without any form of AI whatsoever. It naturally, these neurons learn how to adapt and do this outside of anybody on their own. Okay, and this is what scientists had learned. So, so after that, a more recent evolution of this concept came with the development of more advanced systems known as the cortical learning platform. In this platform, the neural network was exposed to increasingly nuanced stimuli and more complex feedback, allowing researchers to study how biological intelligence scales with complexity. Observers noted that the network could retain information, adjust behavior across sessions, and even generalize from previous encounters, all using its living synapses. What distinguishes these systems from conventional computing is their dynamic plasticity. Traditional digital systems follow linearly, executing fixed code with high speed and precision. By contrast, a biological neural network is adaptive, able to reorganize itself in real time, strengthen or weaken connections, and create entirely new pathways in response to stimuli. These experiments also raised important questions about the nature of intelligence and consciousness. If a dish of neurons can learn, remember, and act in ways that reflect intention, does that imply a kind of awareness? Now, I also want to point out too that whenever they had the uh, dish brain experiment, they took these neurons and they put them in a dish and they were able to teach them how to play Pong.
Wow.
And this is without any kind of artificial intelligence. The only kind of system they had to set up is keeping nutrients going into the neurons to keep them alive, and
It's really gross.
and waste management as well.
Can you
Wow.
bring my screen up, Roger?
Let me see here.
That's pretty
Um,
gross.
yeah, that technology was first developed in 2022 at Monash University in Melbourne, in Australia, and
Yeah,
I've got the study up here, and it's called "In vitro neurons learn and exhibit sentience when embodied in a simulated game world." So yeah, they basically use these neurons, taught it how to play Pong, or it learned by itself how to play Pong. Um,
and
yeah,
they used reinforcement learning. Okay, um, that's why I said that that was key whenever we were talking earlier about it, to remember that, because that's exactly what they did. They responded to stimuli. Okay,
Mm.
uh, and if they functioned correctly, they were given positive uh, feedback. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
so they basically shocked it. Is that what they did? What, when,
They Whenever they made a wrong move, they didn't ever say exactly how the neurons were treated. Okay, and
it says stimulation. I'm guessing that's a shock. That's
no,
kind
the
of
Yeah.
messed up. I don't know if
Yeah.
I agree.
well, the
I don't
positive is a reward. You know what I'm saying? The whenever they make a mistake, that's not a positive. Whenever they do, like whenever they get the pong ball to actually go the other direction, they've done good and they get rewarded for it.
Right.
If they miss it, then there's consequences that they have to pay.
Yeah. It's like actually creating a being kind of thing. And if
Yeah,
And if you're like creating a being, like shocking it when it doesn't do what you want it to do, that's not good.
I actually feel sorry for these things now.
Right. I mean, they're brutal with their experiments, so that's probably what's happening.
That's
You
so
know?
crazy to me.
Yeah, you're supposed to
But
guide, not like be a tyrant about it, you know?
well, it's definitely going to bring up a whole new world of like ethics around this kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. They call it
Yeah.
wetware.
Right.
Wetware.
Mm,
Yeah.
Jesus.
that's
But
pretty gross. It's pretty gross
yeah,
altogether, if you ask me.
are you going to talk about the Chinese ones that they've made recently?
No, I'm not. No.
So like literally this year they've improved on this technology. Recent developments in China, Chinese brain computer interface technology has shown significant progress in 2025. The Shanghai based Center for Excellence in Brain Science and Technology um, it basically um, created these, they call them BCIs, right? Where it like can control robots now, like these little robots that can scoot around and stuff. And it looks creepy as hell. I'll bring up a picture in a second. But yeah, it, you know, pair that with, I don't know if you've seen like China's just brought out like soccer players that are robots and they play soccer against each other.
Oh, wow.
You know, it's just a matter of time before they put these brain chips in them, man. And then we're gonna have machines that are like humans and humans that are like machines. It's just crazy to me that we're blending these two realms together now.
We'll see.
Hmm.
This all gets a little bit more complicated than what I had just read. Now, well, first of all, there's something I wanted to point out too in here when they mention plasticity. Okay, plasticity is something that me and you have discussed before, Mr. Robot, when it comes to neural networks within the brain. That's where the brain is able to rewire and uh, rewire itself to where it can adjust and being able to adapt. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That's something that sets this apart from regular AI, which doesn't really have the biological ability of doing that. It can synthesize it, I guess you could say, or emulate that, but it can't actually do it. Now, the another thing that you have to look at too is feedback loop. Okay, um, this creates a feedback loop when they do the reinforcement, positive reinforcement, and withholding the reinforcement, or whatever, or causing
Shocking.
consequence. Yeah, that creates a feedback loop, and that's what actually makes it to where it learns to behave a certain way. You know what I mean? To respond. So that's how it's
Look at
actually
this little robot with a
learning.
freaking brain, man. This is
Yeah.
the most insane thing I've ever seen.
Now
Like
these,
that is a little brain connected to a chip.
and it goes
Oh, wow.
it goes even crazier now because now they have these with the CL1. They've got the whole setup set up on a program with like a chip, a biological chip, and they're actually able to freaking create the data and everything to where it could think like a human or like a biological being, I guess you could say.
Mm.
And the only problem they're having with it is they can't. First of all, it can't self-replicate, so it can't retain old information, and it has a lifespan of 6 months.
Wow.
Okay, so
And
there's
they actually found that these brain computer interfaces, or these I don't know what you call them, wetware machines, learn faster than artificial intelligence, like traditional artificial intelligence machine learning. They learn faster, and it's like way more energy efficient, obviously, because You don't need to
Yeah,
power all these GPUs and whatnot.
probably because
Right.
it's
So yeah,
organic,
uh,
part
like
organic anyway.
you,
Right.
you could just see like cars are going to be driven by these things one day for sure. They'll be flying our planes. They'll be like flying our spaceships. For
And
sure.
Mm,
and these neurons, by the way, they can be reproduced without pulling them out of any kind of animal. Like now they have synthetic neurons and freaking what do they call those? Oh man, now I'm having a brain fart. They're the stem cells.
Like lab grown
Yeah, stem
neurons.
cells. Stem cells.
Oh
They
yeah.
can pull neurons out of stem cells now, so they can be. They don't even have to come from humans or animals anymore. They can just create
Well, the
them.
stem cells originated from some kind of animal, but
right?
yes, the thing with stem cells is they can turn into any cell in the body. That's what makes them a stem cell. So
Hmm.
you just got to give it the right signal, and it'll turn into that. So
Well, I mean, the first generation has to come from an animal, but after that, that's it.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? It's like they don't they can just reproduce these things and create a neural network, you know, and
That's that's kind of, I don't know. It feels cannibalistic somehow.
you know what it reminds me of? H.P. Lovecraft, dude. Reanimator.
Reanimator.
Hmm.
I haven't read that.
You never read H.P. Lovecraft?
I only heard about it. I don't know.
You're a loser, dude.
Uh,
Just don't have time for fiction anymore.
he's a
But
busy man.
what's the gist of it?
You're gonna have to read it to find out. It's
Ah,
probably one of the greatest stories ever told.
really? Wow.
Yeah, you messed up. But it does. It reminds me of Reanimator from H.P. Lovecraft. It's pretty cool.
Books on tape.
But the question is, if a dish of neurons can learn, remember, and act in ways that reflect intention, does that imply a kind of awareness?
Say
Mm,
that again.
If a
mm.
dish of neurons can learn, remember, and act in ways that reflect intention, does that imply a kind of awareness?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Awareness is just being able to interpret your like surroundings and
Your
like being
environment.
able to react to it, I
Hmm.
suppose.
Yeah,
Mhm.
uh, I
that makes
mean,
sense.
you you could say even music machines have some kind of awareness. Whether that's sentient awareness or not is a different story, but
Yeah.
yeah. But
So,
when we're talking about like actual like lab grown brains, I, that's I don't see how that's much different from what we are, really. Yeah, yeah.
oh, so you pulled up the Reanimator summary.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
So, what do you think?
um,
This is gonna go even deeper, man. This next one. This one that we were talking about here was something that that stuck out to me
uh,
that
yeah.
Nancy Planeta freaking posted up in her chat. This rings out to every single thing that freaking I've been talking about with the cosmic weave and with the AI and everything. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Um, and the next one gets even more creepier because it has to do with technology, death, and nature.
Well, just I think it reminds me of that movie where they transfer the consciousness into a new body or into a machine and stuff like that. I wonder, like, do you think that's going to be possible?
Well, that's what their end goal is. You know, that's what their end goal is, and that machine
Yeah,
is going to
but
be.
here's the thing: there's a difference between making something look like something else and making something else. You know, it's like we
Wow,
could
yeah.
probably make machines that looked, act, and everything exactly like us, but does that mean they are like us? You
Well,
know?
Mhm.
this comes back to what I was talking about. Like we are so set and determined to think that we're biological. Okay, when you look at the human species and you look around on Earth and you look at all these animals in nature, tell me what fits into this environment here on Earth and what doesn't fit. Humans by far do not belong here. We don't fit in this environment, and you can clearly tell that we don't belong here. We're not a part of this natural world. You know what I mean? We
Uh, what do you mean?
I know.
we well
Uh,
how many other freaking animals on this planet freaking actually read and write and
oh, I
you
see.
know
Well, here's the thing: we're only aware of what 12,000 years of the history of the planet, which is like 4 billion years.
why is
How do
that?
you know there hasn't been like advanced life on this planet before? How do we not know
Right.
that like advanced life is the ultimate outcome of any life on any planet? Like maybe like DNA itself
I
is
mean,
like a self evolving, self learning system that eventually results in higher forms of consciousness, like
I
us, or
mean,
or even better.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Um,
how do you even know that though? You know what I'm saying?
I don't. I'm not saying I know that. I think
I
I just
mean,
could see
period.
that as a
Just
possibility.
anybody in general. How do we even know that? You
It's a,
know.
a
What do you
ponderance.
mean?
I
Well,
mean, we
for
just
me,
do not.
it's pretty simple. Like, just look at the amount of like UFO sightings we've seen out there. Look at like people like Tesla saying he's like heard, you know, information from other planets, and like look at any ancient alien theories out there, like from history. It just it all points in the same direction, which is like this isn't the only life in the universe,
Hmm.
and when you extrapolate that out, you know, if life is on one other planet, it's on billions of other planets, and if that's the case, there's going to be some of those planets that have like been evolving for possibly millions, possibly billions of years, and that is hard for us to conceive because we're such a young species in a way. Like we can only remember the last 12,000 years, so
Mhm.
like yeah, I can't. Can you imagine where we'd be in a million years? Can you imagine where we'd be in a billion years? We can't, right?
No.
So
Now, now let's get on to technology, death, and nature.
well, I was about to say, like,
Oh,
what we're doing with these machines is we're basically speeding up evolution, like
mhm.
what we would be going through, but at faster iterations, and we can sort of get a glimpse into the future of like what happens in evolving systems. The problem is we're going to lose control of it. But yeah.
Now this is something that actually kind of got me to thinking. Okay, especially when it comes to paranormal and stuff like that, and it really makes you stop and think that maybe we're thinking in the wrong direction. You know what I mean? Because it really stands out. Now, this information was something that Vicky off of Nancy Planetta's channel mentioned. It was about her husband, who is a forensics expert, who actually did a talk on TED Talk, and it had to do with chemical plumes and forensics and here, I'll just go ahead and read it to you, and you'll get an idea of what it's about. Now, another class of technology has begun to focus on sensing the invisible chemical fingerprints that the human body and organic materials release. These technologies are based on the principle that biological decay produces specific chemical markers. Oh, sorry about that, I got cut off. Okay, these technologies are based on the principle that biological.
Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. You can hear me?
Oh, okay. You went quiet for a second.
Yeah, I know
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got cut off for a second. Let me go ahead and start this over on the reading. Um, Another class of technology has begun to focus in sensing the invisible chemical fingerprints that the human body and other organic materials release. These technologies are based on the principle that biological decay produces specific chemical markers, often in the form of airborne plumes that can be detected at a distance. When the body breaks down, it emits a sequence of volatile compounds, many of which can be traced back to precise processes occurring in soft tissue, blood, or microbial activity. By identifying the patterns in the emissions, systems can detect the presence of a deceased individual, even if the location is submerged or buried. A network trained through exposure to various biological decomposition scenarios can learn to distinguish between natural decay, environmental interference, and the specific profile of human remains. They do not require rigid code. Instead, they learn from feedback, building a memory through lived experience. A system trained in this way can not only detect the presence of volatile organic compounds associated with human decomposition, but can also differentiate between the decay of a living organism and other natural processes, such as plant rot or industrial chemical leaks. The sensor used for these purposes typically monitor the air for a mixture of compounds such as ammonia, cadaverine, putre, putrescin, sulfur-based gases, and other volatile organic substances that are consequently released during the breakdown of human tissue. The unique blend and ratio of these gases create a signature that, once learned, can be recognized by the integrated system. When this data is processed by a biological learning model like a cultured neural network, the system becomes capable of not just recognizing known patterns, but of identifying new, previously unencountered chemical profiles with a degree of inference and context. This fusion of chemical sensing with responsive neural intelligence has created systems that can detect the presence of human remains in previously inaccessible or ambiguous environments. These systems do not merely respond to chemical thresholds, they interpret subtle changes and match them to learned profiles. Much like a bloodhound uses its senses to smell combined with instinct and training. When extended into chemical detection, these systems show promise in fields ranging from forensic science to environmental monitoring and public health. For instance, the same principles could be applied to identifying chemical markers for diseases, pollution, or toxic exposure long before symptoms become visible or concentrations reach dangerous levels. That right there is intense. If you understand what they're saying right there is like because of the the chemical plumes that are produced and the analysis of how the body freaking breaks down and the gases that are produced, they are literally able to find bodies using these devices. Okay, they go out and they detect where these chemical plumes are, and when a body decomposes, it literally sends out chemical plumes into the surrounding area. Okay, now
Yeah,
that
I actually have one of those devices. It's called a nose.
no,
Right.
listen, no, no, listen. These are so subtle and they're so like these plumes, man, are subtle. They
You mean
have
like a
to.
dog nose? Uh,
Dogs have to. They do have dogs trained to find dead bodies. Okay, but
what
they
I'm
have.
wondering is what is the feedback? Because like you'd have to train it on something, right? And like you'd have to have a human to tell it which is which, or like you'd have to isolate the individual smells and train them just on those. I'm guessing. You
What
know,
they from what I've seen from Arpad Voss's talk is what they did. He used to do research in, I forgot the name of the place, but it's where they had all the dead bodies, and they went out and did the research. You
Mortuary?
know, this is open field where they just have bodies laying
Oh,
around decomposing.
wow.
Um, and when they did the research, what they did is they took a body that was buried and they made it to where it was covered, and they took pipes and they hooked it up to where they could actually take an out they could analyze the gases that were being released from this decomposing body, and they could actually make it into data. Okay, it's really interesting how they did that, and
yeah, so they would have had to train it on samples.
right, and
Yeah.
the, Arpad Boss or Boss, yeah, is his name, and I believe I've shared the link to his TED talk. If you want to check it out, I'll post it on the chats for later on here in a little bit. Um, but you can also find it on Nancy's uh,
Well, you know,
TED
back
as
in the
well.
old days, they used to have canaries in the coal mines to detect carbon monoxide. Mm.
Mhm.
When I
Well,
used to work in the mines, we had these chemical detectors that could detect carbon monoxide, and like a little alarm would go off when the levels got over certain parts per million. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me we can do that. It's
now, see, the
what's the use
interesting
of that?
the interesting part about it is these sensors. Okay, these sensors pick up on frequencies. They pick up on waves. Okay, um,
What, microwaves or what?
they're measured in hertz. Um,
Okay, so,
and
but it would be picking up the particles in the air still, right? Similar to your nose, and it would set off a sensor, I'm guessing.
well, that's the thing, man. These sensors actually are picking up on bodies that freaking have been buried, that are under the ground and have been buried for years. Okay, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Submerged underwater, things of that nature, and these plumes are spread out into this area, and these sensors literally pick up on it. You know what I mean? And they're very very sensitive, and they find it that the actual areas where the body is buried. You know, which is interesting in itself, because not only is it saying that when it comes to finding bodies, but when you read it, you start understanding that death actually influences nature. You know, when you think about these plumes being released because of the decomposition, it's being released into the surrounding environment, and it affects
Oh,
the,
sure.
you know what I mean?
You
And
know
that,
what's really good for the soil is if you bury like a dead animal where you're growing your food, like it slow releases all of these nutrients into the soil and bacteria and stuff like that over time. It's an old practice.
yeah, they used to have a story about the Pilgrims when they landed here in America. Their first winter, they almost starved to death, and then that spring, that's why they celebrate Thanksgiving. Taught them that whenever you do your crops, you take a fish and you put it in the hole with the seed so that it has the nutrients to grow.
Oh,
I don't know how true that is. I'm not putting a fish down for every seed. Sorry, it just ain't happening.
Makes sense though. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I used to like, leftover chicken bones and stuff like that. I used to bury in my garden. Has like potassium and calcium and all sorts of stuff for plants and nitrogens. But yeah, I'm wondering how these sensors work. Uh,
yeah,
machine olfaction.
yeah. Now, what it is it says um, it's well. First of all, it's the chemical markers. Chemical markers is the technologies are based on the principle that biological decay produces specific chemical markers, often in the form of airborne plumes that can be detected at a distance. When the body breaks down, it emits a sequence of volatile compounds, many of which can be traced back to precise processes occurring in soft tissue, blood, and microbial activities. Now, by identifying the patterns in these emissions, so it's the patterns of the chemical plumes, is what I'm guessing. The system can detect the presence
Yeah,
of
well,
deceased individuals, and they can also differentiate between a dead animal and a dead human, or a chemical spill in a decomposing human body. It's pretty
Yeah.
but I'm
amazing.
wondering how the sensor actually detects the smell. I'm just quickly checking that out. The sensors use a metal oxide layer, like tin oxide, whose electrical resistance changes when it interacts with volatile compounds in the air. Okay, so it's like basically convert each compound in the air has a different electrical signal when it touches the sensor, and that's how I can determine it. You'll they have metal ones, plastic ones, crystal ones, optical sensors, biosensors. Um, yeah,
Hold on.
now they're working with pattern recognition, data analysis.
Mhm.
So yeah, they're looking to use it in healthcare, environmental monitoring, food safety, and security.
Yep. They're also talking about it being able to identify chemical markers for diseases, and this is supposed to be able to prevent uh, long-term symptoms and stuff before they happen, like even before uh, even before they're detectable.
How would it do that?
Well,
They're
dogs could like detect cancer and stuff like that, right? Like
mhm.
I remember reading something about that.
Hmm.
So
Like
yeah.
they're so sensitive and they're so precise. precise that I mean they got on it small markers. You know what I'm saying? Like today,
Sorry.
go ahead.
They're also saying like different diseases cause chemical markers in your breath, and they can detect that in your
Oh,
breath. So, yeah.
okay. Right.
Some
Like, for
crazy stuff.
example, when you're in ketogenesis, you produce ketone bodies, it goes into your breath, and it smells like nail polish remover. It's one example.
Wow.
Mm.
So what do you think, Sonia?
About what?
What we've been talking about here?
It's pretty interesting stuff. Yeah.
Forensic
I,
science.
I remember like old Chinese doctors used to like taste your urine to like be able to detect different
Really?
diseases. Yeah, and they could detect like lots of different diseases just by tasting your urine and like looking at the
Oh,
consistency and stuff like that.
that's
I kind of
gross.
like that, the old school way, compared to the machines. Like it's more, it's more
I,
real,
I
authentic.
I do like the old school ways better, yeah, but I don't know about the whole urine thing. I mean, wow.
I,
Well,
I
don't.
just, I just can picture Mr. Robot tasting some urine and saying, "Man, there's some disease up in here."
Well, that's supposed to be like the philosopher's stone kind of thing, and
Oh,
it has all kinds of stem cells in it apparently.
Well,
I don't.
what they reckon the philosopher's stone is the pineal gland that is actually like calcified over, and because when you reach puberty, your hormones changes and you stop generating as much parathyroid hormone, which means the calcium that you take in don't deposit in your bones anymore. It doesn't get taken up into your bones anymore, so it floats around your blood more. And when it does that, it actually hits your pineal gland because it's the only blood interface with your brain. Like
Yeah, and it has
that's not protected.
more blood
Yeah, so
passes
over
over
time
that.
it like calcifies over, and
Hmm.
these ancient monks and stuff like had a technique where they can put their tongue up the back of their throats and
Hmm.
actually like break open that part and like lick their own pineal gland, and they reckon they
Ew.
used to be able to go into like altered states by like putting their tongue up there.
Wow.
It's
I haven't heard of that, but I've heard of putting your tongue on the roof of your mouth when you're, meditating, trying to decalcify your
mm,
pineal.
mm,
You guys have taken
sounds like
discussing. You guys have taken disgusting to a whole new level. So, so that right there is what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to get more into a lot of this later on, but like these are some of the things that I've actually wanted to talk about when it comes to the consciousness and the new technologies that we have available. And like the thing that really sticks out to me about all of this is the whole thing with the Dish Brain project and CL1 now. By the messed up part about this situation is CL1 um,
what is
is
CL1?
it's the what is it? CL1 is the the project that happened um, uh, after the dish brain. It evolved into it. It was more.
Right,
It was after it happened. It was called the
biological computer.
cortical learning platform is what it is.
Right,
Cortical.
right.
Now, cortical uh, learning is got some. It's actually kind of messed up because it also has to do with It has to do with BlackRock, I believe.
No,
Yeah.
that's
What, they're funding
surprising.
it or what?
No, they're doing the research.
You can
What?
buy these things now? This is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Programmable organic neural networks born on a silicon chip and living inside a digital world.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
I
pretty
want one.
crazy.
How much are they? I wonder.
Um, get started. Let's see.
50
Probably
Buy.
about
bucks.
get it for $50 on eBay.
Yeah, DH Gate or whatever it is.
Plug and
Probably soon.
plug
Put
and
them in bulk.
play.
Oh yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Wow.
What are you playing? Pong or what?
Hook up to the cortical cloud, man.
Yeah, they're not disclosing the price by the looks of it,
Yeah,
which
Ye-
means it's probably expensive.
yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
medical supplies.
Hmm.
They usually
I
don't.
just want to know what you use it for. Wetware as a service, WAAS, is the thing now. You can
Wow.
put it on the cloud. That's crazy, man. Every day
Mhm.
I learn something more crazy than the next. It's what I feel like we're living in the future. It's every day there's just new stuff
I
that
like
like
their website design. That's pretty cool.
yeah.
That blue that was up there, that was pretty neat.
Did you see how
Yeah,
the pictures changed when I scrolled? Like that was pretty dope.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
That's cool.
Okay, so
I like it.
we have come to the end of the stream. You guys want to tell everybody how they can find you, and we can end this because I'm ready to fall asleep.
it must be late. Uh,
You,
Sure.
who wants to go first? You want to go first, Mr. Robot or Sonya?
Sonia, you can go first.
Okay. Galacticfire.com. It's a TEC instead of TIC. And I have t-shirts and stuff. And that's pretty much how you can get a hold of me through there.
Okay.
Hmm.
For me, you can join me on Rumble under Hacker Radio and come check out my music and come join the live parties. Otherwise, you can find me via Roger Hanson.
Awesome.
Yeah.
A- And
Oops.
also,
Oh,
also
sorry.
he is hanging out with me too on Elements Matrix. He's got a whole bunch of stuff on there too. If you guys need to find out how to get in touch with him, you can find him at Live with Roger Hanson or on all the other uh, streams that he has available. If you like his music, uh, which is the music I played when we took our break, um, stop by and give him your support. Tell him how cool his music is. Same with me, man. Like, subscribe, share, make comments if you enjoyed this stream. If you do make a comment, I will respond. If I don't, somebody else will. We're always on here trying to figure out who's interested in this stuff and wanting to talk about it. So don't ever think we're not going to respond to you. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the stream, and I will talk to you later. You guys want to say bye?
Bye.
Goodbye. It's been
Bye.
a pleasure.
Yep.
Nice to chat with you guys.
Yeah.
By the
Ditto.
way, this is the chat platform that we use, element.io. If anyone wants to come join us, just drop a comment in the on